In the world of anime, there's so much stuff that people look forward to. Sometimes there's action, other times there's adventure, but let's be honest here. Most of the times, it's also because of the ahem oppai. Yay, that's right. I'm talking about all the harem and ecchi anime shows that have won hearts all around the world. I think it's safe to say that this is a genre that isn't going away anytime soon. So why hide our intentions in the first place? I mean, I'm all about celebrating success, plus, I know you guys are looking for something to watch late at night. So, without further ado, here are the top 20 ecchi anime of 2023 and 2024. Like, share, and subscribe if you want more kawaii content. Since we're kicking things off, we'll start with a somewhat wholesome anime that's filled with kawaii girls. Isekai Onsen Paradise follows our hero Yoshizo Yukawa, who is a hot spring hunter. Yay, this guy loves hot springs more than Garfield hates Mondays. Thanks to his unique ability to sniff out hot springs, Yoshizo is able to find them with ease. But one fine day, when he's out looking for a spring to revitalize a town, he slips and falls off a cliff. Normally, that would be the end of him. But our hero gets reincarnated into another world, thanks to an Inari goddess of rice. She even sends her messenger Mayudama to help Yoshizo navigate this new world, but his hot spring senses kick in immediately, so he decides to take a bath with her. Things only get steamier as an elf girl joins them, and, well, I don't want to give any further details because that would be spoiling the fun, you know? One thing's for sure. The animators definitely wanted to reward our hero with an ample amount of hot spring companions to make up for his untimely demise. Anyway, make sure to check out Season 1 right now, because what I told you right now was just a teaser. Okay, this one's a bit different, but then again, that's what anime storylines are famous for, right? Imagine this. You're an overpowered demon lord who loses against a hero and goes into a deep slumber to regain your power. 10 years later, you wake up, but as a chibi version of your past self. What's even worse is that the hero who defeated you is nothing more than a loner boy living in a filthy one-room apartment. Not the kind of revenge story you'd be hoping for, right? Well, the demon lord named Mao is facing the exact same situation here with the hero Max, so he moves into his apartment so that she can get him back on track. Yes, the story doesn't sound very ecchi from the get-go, but there's also a very voluptuous student by the name of Xenia who will most definitely grab your eyeballs. It's a very lighthearted show with comedy as a key element, but make no mistake, there are a lot of moments that will set your hearts racing. If you were to ask me, the only reason I'm watching this show right now is Xenia, and I can't wait to see how the show progresses. It just came out in July, so you guys can quickly catch up on it as well. Okay, this one's a bit different because it's not completely out yet with its April release date, but if the manga is anything to go by, you guys are in for a treat. Horror movies have always been known to include ecchi stuff here and there, and I'm not just referring to anime in this case. Anyway, the focus for Kaiai to Otome to Kamikakushi is the premise of solving supernatural mysteries. The lead Ogawa Sumireko is quite the curvy babe, and she has aspirations of becoming a famous novelist, even though she's just a bookstore clerk for now. Her colleague Ada Shino Ren is a bit too annoying because of his flirty behavior, but the two of them need to get together when strange occurrences start to happen in their city. That's not all, as Ren seems to be hiding a shady secret of his own as well. How's this gonna turn out for Ogawa? Well, you guys can find out by following the anime after its release. I think it's actually going to become a huge success because of all the hype around urban mysteries, and it obviously helps to have such a cute girl leading the way in solving them. If you're an otaku, you definitely need to watch this one. The premise of this entire show is the importance of anime, manga, and similar content for dweebs like us. Basically, in the world of magical destroyers, otaku culture has been destroyed by an oppressive organization known as the SSC, so you can imagine how gloomy things must be. Luckily, one man stands in the way of the SSC and their army. He goes by the name of the Otaku Hero. And guess who he has on his side? 3 super cute babes, Anarchy, Blue, and Pink. Together, they take on the authoritarian regime and restore Japan to its former glory. Just so you know, Anarchy is a bit of a badass too, so there's a nice balance between cute and tough. The whole idea of this show is that humans shouldn't take themselves so seriously, and I think it communicates its message perfectly. Of course, since this is a list about ecchi anime, you can rest assured that there are some intense moments for the otaku hero and his harem. The show's already done with its first season, so you can watch all 12 episodes on Crunchyroll or whichever platform is supported in your country. So this one lingers more towards the harem genre than the ecchi one, but it's still a good watch either way. The hero, Hayato, moves to his hometown after completing his education so that he can wind up his recently deceased grandmother's cafe, known as the Cafe Terrace Familia. However, he encounters 5 girls who are not only working at the cafe, but were also under his grandmother's care. Yes, the title of the show refers to these girls as goddesses, and all I can say for now is that they sure look the part. These girls are as kawaii as it gets, and of course, since Hayato has them all to himself, you can imagine the kind of situations the show must be presenting. In all seriousness, the show is a strong adaptation of its source material and is filled with great themes and lessons to take away, so it would be unfair if I only asked you to watch it because of the girls. Of course, all of them are total babes, but I want to point out to Shiragiku Ono, who likes to get extra naughty after a couple of drinks. The series is pretty new as of now, so I highly suggest you hop online and check it out. Who doesn't like tension that involves attractive girls? Season 2 is yet to have an official release date at the time of writing this, but I'm sure we'll be treated to something amazing when it does come out, especially after the events of the first season. For those of you who don't know much about it, I suggest watching Season 1 to get familiar with the characters by the time Season 2 arrives. The premise is basically an ongoing war between the Heavenly Empire and a country of magicians known as Nebulous Sovereignty. The main conflict is between a master swordsman of the Heavenly Empire named Iska and the Ice Calamity Witch from the nebulous ruling family, Alice Lisa. It's a rather captivating story, with both characters actually wanting peace and an end to the pointless battles between their factions, but the real fun is in finding out if they can find peace with themselves first. The character designs are pretty appealing, and some romantic story arcs definitely kept me hooked throughout the first season, so I can't wait to see what's going to happen after the thrilling finale. The action is top-notch, and there are some pretty intense themes on display, so I can assure you that this will be more than a simple guilty pleasure. Well, this is kinda like a nightmare for most guys, but the premise of the show is still pretty interesting. An otaku and shady boy named Mahiro Oyama suddenly wakes up one day to see that he has been turned into a little girl. This is due to an experiment run by his scientist little sister Mihari, and it leads to a whole lot of funny situations. Bro must now live as a girl but has no idea how to do so. As expected, he has to deal with a lot of comfy scenarios, and even though it's not explicit, it's still entertaining. So you should definitely give it a watch. Season 1 is on streaming platforms that vary as per your location, so go ahead and see what's in store.
Sayonara, Sato. 楽しかったよ.
Imagine finding out that your childhood crush was actually a princess from another world this entire time. That's exactly what our hero Satu realizes when he chases after the love of his life, Haim, who travels through a portal after telling him that she's moving away. It turns out that Haim is supposed to get married to a prince, but before any of that can happen, a demon attacks her, and things aren't looking too good for the princess. Luckily, Satu is right there to save his bae. So Jaime hands over a ring to him which boosts him up with light powers. After beating the demon, Satu learns that Jaime was the princess of this demon-infested world the whole time and was only seeking shelter on Earth till the time was right to marry a hero and grant him powers. The hero was supposed to be the prince, but now it's Satu, so his simping days are finally over. Guess what? He has to marry 4 other wives to gain the powers of 4 other elements: earth, fire, wind, and water. So basically, bro's gonna enjoy a harem of 5 wives after all those days being stuck in the friend zone. Season should be done by the time this video's out, so don't forget to check it out.
今日から君は私のペット。
You know, I'm very jealous of dogs that are spoiled by their owners. They get so much love and attention that sometimes I feel it's better to have been born as a canine companion. After watching My Life as Inukai-san's dog, those feelings have only grown stronger. The premise of the show is that a schoolboy suddenly turns into a dog one fine day and is taken in by a girl named Inukai, whom he also has a crush on. Needless to say, it's a dream come true for our hero, who gets the name Pochita by his new owner. It actually feels kinda ecchi just to call Inukai his owner. The best part is that Bro eventually learns to transition between dog and human later on in the show. Yup, he's definitely been a good boy to deserve his new life. The reason this show is on my list is because Pochita finds himself in all kinds of intimate situations with his new mistress, and they get extremely intense with each passing episode. The expression, "you lucky dog," is perfectly explained in this show, if you know what I mean. The show has been adapted from a highly successful manga series, so you can definitely expect more than just one season. There are 12 episodes, but also 2 OVAs, which I also suggest watching if you're into this genre. Okay, this one comes with a personal recommendation because I watched Handyman Site 2 in Another World with total dedication right from when the first episode released in January. It's kinda like the same passion with which I was watching Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, so you know I'm being serious here. The premise is pretty simple. A handyman named Saitu gets transported to an isekai world after getting hit by a truck. Here, he teams up with a warlock, a knight, and a fairy girl to help them with their adventures. Now, you guys must be thinking, what on earth is ecchi about a guy who can pick locks? For starters, the knight is actually a woman named Raelza, who is super cute and has a massive crush on Saitu. However, the real appeal is in the female duo of Franlil and Ninia, especially the latter, because not only does she have a blood fetish, she's also into Franlil as a love interest. It's just one of those kinky relationships that look so wrong, but feels so right. Okay, I might have gotten carried away there. Coming back to the show, it's actually a fun watch with action and adventure, also keeping the viewers entertained throughout its initial run of 12 episodes. Do give it a shot if you're into fantasy worlds. Okay, things are really heating up now. As the name of the show might suggest, Liar Liar is filled with all kinds of mind games and deceptions that will keep you engaged throughout the duration of its episodes. As expected, it has one male hero who goes by the name of Hiroto. He resides inside Academy Island, where every single matter is decided by games that are wagered using stars. The whole idea of this concept is to be granted the ranking of 7 stars, which basically makes you the boss of everyone. What happens with Hiroto is that he ends up battling the strongest empress of Academy Island and ends up winning, thus establishing himself as the strongest boy in his school. The empress, who's named Sarasa, is a bit of a naughty one, as can be seen in her behavior throughout the show. The other girls are no joke either. There's some super ecchi content throughout the show, even though they're not presented in a direct manner. Keep an eye out for girls like Shirayuki and Rika. You can thank me later. Honestly speaking, this is school could actually turn out to be a paradise for all the hentai lovers out there. It's just gotten done with Season 1, as the episode started releasing in July 2023. So you can start streaming it now on Crunchyroll.
わかりました。俺転生します。
This is probably one of the funniest series I've seen with an overpowered MC. Our hero Haruto is made to believe that his mana level is just 2, whereas it's actually 1,002. Why is this the case? Well, because in this isekai world, the mana measuring devices can only depict double digits. The title of the show makes a lot more sense now, doesn't it? Another hilarious aspect is that Haruto can only use barrier magic due to his lacking of an element, but even then, he makes clothes and TV screens out of it. Of course, you guys are here for the ladies, so allow me to introduce Flay, a redhead bombshell who will easily take your breath away. She's very attractive, and to top it off, she actually becomes Haruto's slave after he defeats her in battle. Now, full disclosure, Flay is actually a Fenrir, which means her true form is that of a wolf. But that only adds to her cuteness when she switches to a human body. She still keeps her wolf ears and tail in this form, so it's basically a kawaii overdose. She's not the only cutie in this show either. There's Liza, who is a 300-year-old dragon girl as well. She also becomes Haruto's slave, which means bro has choices with him all the time. The show has only got 1 season out, so you can quickly catch up with everything that's going on.
それはいろいろ間違ってる気が。
Ah, we're getting into cult territory now. If the title of this show is anything to go by, you guys must be assuming that it's all about nihilism and existentialism. Well, there are subtle hints to those themes, but there's also a lot of opai. Working for a god in a godless world is headed by our hero Yukito, who loses his life thanks to his cult's ridiculous practices. However, he goes into isekai territory and gets reincarnated into a world where there is no god or religion. It's the perfect chance for him to start his own cult in a post-apocalyptic culture, and joining him as a lead is Mitama, who is voiced by none other than Akari Kito. Yup. The kawaii voice you keep hearing in shows like Demon Slayer and UQ Holder is now a land goddess that Yukito makes his cult worship. If you don't know who she is, just Google her quickly and you'll learn that she's voiced at least one character you'd love to turn into a waifu. Coming back to the show, as you'd expect, there are no morals on display in this world, so expect to see a lot of questionable behavior. There's also Alural, who develops an unhealthy obsession towards Yukito, so there's tons for you ecchi lovers to enjoy. First season's out with a full 12 episodes, so get to work. They say certain habits run deep in the family, but that's exactly the kind of notion that our hero, Akamitsu Akagami, is trying to prove wrong. With a womanizing dad who's only brought him embarrassment and humiliation, Akamitsu fears that he's also going to end up like him, especially when he falls in love with Yuzuki Aoba. He finally decides to go to the Minazuki Temple to become a monk and purge the intrusive thoughts out of his mind, body, and soul. But get this. Not only does he find Yuzuki there, this temple also happens to be a nunnery where his head has run rampant and now owes the nuns around 20 million yen. He then decides to work there to pay off his debt, but he also has to avoid tons of temptation during this journey. Check it out on Crunchyroll if you haven't already, because it's the perfect mix of humor and adult comedy. This is one of those odd balls that completely takes you by surprise, but you don't mind because it's still a pretty solid offering. My one-hit kill sister features our otaku hero, Asahi Ikusaba, who becomes comatose after getting hit by a car while saving a child. This takes him to a fantasy world where he can pursue his dreams to become an adventurer. The only problem is that he has a hard time dealing with all the monsters in his area. That's when his older sister Maya shows up and protects him from harm, although she does seem to have an overbearing kind of love for him. Either way, there's tons of action and some spicy stuff every now and then, with all the cute side characters also being good enough to catch your attention. It's got total harem vibes, and the first season did end with the hint that we might get a second. So now would be a good time to make yourself familiar with the show and its characters. Oh boy, this one's super freaky and for all kinds of reasons. You know how every single guy out there has a girl-on-girl fantasy? Yay, this show takes that premise and executes it on a whole other level. The setting is focused on spirits known as Ayakashi that roam around in the city, completely invisible to the residents. However, our two leads, Matsuri and Suzu, are childhood friends, both of whom possess the ability to see these spirits. As expected, the king of the Ayakashi, named Shirogane, doesn't like the duo, especially Suzu, whose power seems to grow faster than that of Matsuri. It leads to a classic case of jealousy, which pushes the Spirit King to attack Suzu. Luckily, Matsuri saves her, but ends up getting cursed by Shirogane and becomes a woman. The Ayakashi King clearly did this so that Matsuri and Suzu don't end up as a couple, but bro seems to have forgotten that we're in 2023 and this kind of stuff is actually very appealing to certain demographics. As expected, the girl couple shares a few, risky moments, and the show doesn't hold back on the Ecchi context. Obviously, Matsuri wants to become a dude again, but from the looks of it, he doesn't seem too concerned about his gender for now. It's fun, provocative, and there are only 12 episodes to watch as of now, so it won't take up much of your time. Yes, he's back again, and with a lot more shadiness than ever before. Rudeus Greyrat did not disappoint with his intrusive thoughts across Season 1 of Mushoku Tensei, and he was unrelentless in the first half of Season 2 as well. If you haven't seen it already, head over to Netflix or Crunchyroll depending on your location, and watch it right now. Rudeus is a man whose shady intentions know no bounds, and he must be stopped at all costs. Although he does marginally become better at controlling his emotions. There's a lot of internal reflection as well, on top of some neat showdowns. But the main selling point of this whole show is that our hero is basically a creepy, middle-aged man in the body of a teenage boy. Also, the fact that his own dad cheated on his wife with the cute maid only goes on to show what kind of environment he's been raised under. Whether it's Eris or Sylphie, bro does not know when to stop, and he even faces some hardware issues in the first half of Season 2, but now that it's all resolved, we can only wait to see what the second half has in store for us. Core 2 is supposed to release sometime in April, so make sure you're up to speed on everything, otherwise it won't be as much fun for you.
ダセ衣装まで用意して笑えたぜ。あれ、ゆなりん、ゆなりん。
あんたが10日だってことは分かったわ。
Oh my god, you guys just have to watch this show. It's so hilarious and enjoyable that I actually ended up binging it twice. It's a totally different take on the typical overpowered hero because here, the hero dies in the very first episode. All of this is because of a very silly mistake by our unintentional hero Tuka Scott. One thing needs to another, and the hero's trusted sidekick Anri ends up transferring Tuka's soul into the hero's body. Now, why does this show land at number 1 on this list? The answer to that is 2 simple words: Yuna Eunice. She is an absolute stunner of a blonde babe who can charm anyone within her sight without even trying. She's got an amazing figure to go with that sweet, innocent face, and we even get to see it in action during the course of the show. Now, it's not as ecchi as you might be led to believe, but with all the various side plots also coming to play, I'd say it's a great anime to watch from a general point of view. For me, the takeaway is clearly Yuna, because I wouldn't have seen the series for a second time if it hadn't been for her. Of course, there's loads of other stuff to enjoy in the show, so don't get bogged down with high expectations. After all, it's the teasing that always gets the best response, doesn't it? Okay, this one's got a load of action in it too, so you'll get some good variety to enjoy. The premise of the show is that gates to another dimension named Mato have opened up in the real world, and this has caused monsters known as Shuki to come and invade humanity. These gates also have a resource known as peaches, which can give women superpowers if they eat them. One such babe named Kyaoka Uzun becomes the commander of the 7th Squad of the Demon Defense Force. She has the ability to enslave Shuki monsters, but one fine day, she comes across a whole bunch of them and finds it hard to come out on top. Luckily for her, a high school graduate named Yuki Wakura happens to find himself inside the gate as well, so she convinces him to become her slave and help her defeat these monsters. With that, Kyuka gets a new slave boy, but she needs to reward him for all the help he's offering. Well, I'm sure you guys can guess what kind of rewards the Commander Girl has in mind for her slave. Also, Kyuka isn't the only babe in this show, so I'm sure you guys will be spoiled for choice. Season 1 just got done with, so stream away. Okay, we're topping things off with a pretty twisted show, but I guess that's just the norm when you're exploring such a genre. The lead, Utena Hiragi, starts off as a normal, shy girl who has a massive, admiration for girls with magic, especially the 3 cute ones that protect her town. Her entire persona changes when she comes across a black mascot who pumps her up with magical powers of her own. However, if you're thinking that Utena is just gonna join the magical trio and live happily ever after with them, think again. She actually uses her powers to become an evil general of the Enormita organization. Yeah, even I wasn't expecting that. But to my surprise, this made the show a lot more interesting. A lot of that has to do with the fact that Utena discovers a hidden sadistic side to herself that makes her enjoy torturing her idols in the shadiest ways possible. I've got to say, I was a bit taken aback by the stuff that happens here, and I would have explained it in detail, but that would simply be ruining the fun for your guys. Go check it out right now because the first season is done with, and ended on a rather promising note. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to see more. I'll see you soon.